Hey out there in YouTube land, my name is Weeping Willis 21, and I came here to discuss a very important event in my life and to bring some awareness to a problem that we have here in our fine country. And that problem is bullying by teachers in schools. Now, I do have cerebral palsy, and I do use a wheelchair. And again, that's going to come up later. Um, but I was a sophomore when this happened, and it all centered around an infant simulator. And it all started um, in the second half of the year. I should tell you that the first half went by with flying colors. I was a good student. I did everything the way that I was supposed to do it. We had a really good relationship, this teacher and I. And then when my turn came to take the baby, everything changed. Her attitude toward me completely changed. And it started when she made my favorite teacher tell me that there was going to be a problem with me taking the baby. And again, that was very distressing for both of us because as I came to find out that that particular teacher was very emotional and hated breaking bad news and probably still is the same way to this day. Um, so I told my mother what happened, who my mother, by the way, is the best champion that I've ever had. I'm extremely lucky to have her. And she went down and she told them that I was getting the same opportunity as everyone else and that there was no reason to have any problem with that. Now, the reason that this teacher cited that she had the problem with me taking the baby was the cost of the unit. Well, and that seems funny because every parent whose child participated in the project had to sign a waiver saying that they were financially responsible for the baby if it was damaged in any way in their care. And so since she had signed the waiver as well, she didn't know what the big problem was. She told them that she would be there if anything went wrong with the baby and that as I said, was getting the opportunity. Well, so we finally won that battle, but that was only the first one. You see, they had me so freaked out about this baby that I remember that the whole that whole day before the bus ride home, I was nervous. And we had agreed to put the baby on delay because I had a physical therapy appointment later that afternoon and didn't want to have to handle taking care of the baby until after. So we made that agreement with her, and something was faulty because the baby screamed the entire 45-minute bus ride home. And I actually remember my bus driver turning to my mother when we got home and saying to her, "Oh, you're going to have fun this weekend," because um, of her because she had screamed, as I said, the entire way. And everything was fine until that night when she continued to scream every 15 minutes. It was insane. And I was about ready to pull my hair out. But I went through it. Everything went fine. And then the second day, um, we actually had to turn the baby onto its stomach, which was the wrong position, to make sure that it was still functioning. Now, I should tell you that everyone else who had gotten these babies got them for overnight. I got it for a weekend. And coincidentally, a weekend that this teacher was going to be out of town. Now, if she thought I was going to have all of these problems with this baby, why would she set it up for a weekend when I was out of town, or when she was going to be out of town and couldn't be contacted. That to me seemed really suspicious. Anyway, when we brought the baby back to the teacher, the readout was extremely, um, there was something wrong. And we could tell that because um, the readout said I had 23 instances of shaken baby syndrome and head drops that we know didn't happen. My mother and I only recall it dropping maybe 4 times the entire weekend. And so sometime later, I told her, no disrespect intended, but I think something's wrong here. I think there's been a mistake. And then sometime after that, she put the readouts from other people's babies in front of my face and literally said, see why my babies don't lie? And at that point, I was livid because the first thought that came into my head was, okay, and you think I do? And I am just, I was completely livid at that point. And just thinking about it now makes me angry. Um, but at that, at that point, I knew something had shifted in her attitude, and it was very, very painful for me. Um, and at um, some sometime close to that incident, I remember her saying, literally in my earshot, they were right behind me talking, and I remember her saying to another girl that the babies had been acting up on delay, but she didn't have the guts to admit that to me. She didn't have the guts to admit that her equipment had given out a false given out a false reading to me, but she was willing to do it. She was willing to say it to someone to a girl that was able-bodied, which I'm not, but doesn't mean I'm any different than anyone else. And then sometime after that, we were given the opportunity to try the pregnancy Bullied, which basically simulates pregnancy, and anybody who's had a child before or a birthing class probably knows what I'm talking about. And I told her I really wanted to try that. I really wanted to see how it felt, and because that's something that I've always wanted to do. And she gave me the excuse that I couldn't do it because it would tip my chair over. Now, I have never seen an instance of extra weight um, tipping over a chair that weighed 400 pounds, which was what mine weighed at the time. Now, I've seen it happen with manual chairs, but not with electric. So she was just trying to subvert my opportunity to have that experience. And I also remember one other incident between me and that teacher. My shoe had fallen off, and I was not in a position to be able to put it back myself. So I asked her for help with that, and she very she very coolly told me that she couldn't because she had just had her nails done. Now, who in their right mind thinks that it's okay to say to someone, I can't help you because I just had my nails done? Now that to me is just insane. Now my mother wanted to go down and settle this, but at this point I was completely terrified that she was going to fail me. I was terrified it was going to make it worse. So she so I begged her not to, and that's the regret that I have to this day still. I wish that I had let her go down and settle it. Um, but I hope that me sharing my story has inspired other people to share theirs. And if anyone wants to if anyone wants to have a chat with me and explain to me their stories, or reach out in some way and ask for help, I would be more than happy to do that. I am on a mission to bring awareness to teacher bullying, and I am very certain that you will be seeing me again sometime in the near future. So, for now, I will just sign off, and I hope that my stories made an impact on all of you, and I hope that if you see someone being bullied by either a teacher or another student, or just somewhere out on the street, I think I would hope that you'd have the courage to stand up and say that it isn't right for someone to be bullied. Anyway, on that note, I will just sign off, and hopefully you'll see me again in the near future.